Okay, and I'm going to start the screen. Okay, and so just remember that these PowerPoints are going to be on the district website in the webinar page. And so you can pick up templates and the PowerPoints right there for reference. And that's why these slides are really busy. And so it's so that you can refer to it later on. Okay, so for this session is on treasurers, and treasurers are really important because you need to keep track of all the money in the club and collect dues and keep the board informed about things. So these are the duties here listed. And you're making payments, you're maintaining the records, 5 years retention, and you're doing your tax information and filing. So you need to keep the board informed of all of these things. So you want to make sure that you keep the records, you're transparent in the controls. So there are financial controls that you might want to think
Feel
about.
better.
So one of the things that you might want to consider is make sure that you have two people authorizing payments. And so it could be two signatures on a check. It could be two signatures on a voucher or a payment form, an authorization, but you want to make sure that it is authorized to make that payment. You know, in business, you hear these horror stories about the people who pay bills and they get a bill from Yellow Pages and they pay it because they think Yellow Pages is something they do, but it's Yellow Pages in Nebraska or someplace else. And so you're advertising someplace else. So you just want to make sure that all of the payments are authorized. One thing that you might want to consider, well, another thing that you could consider is getting the bank statement to the president or someone else before it gets to the treasurer. So this is that dual control thing where you're having a dual looking at the records. Reconcile your bank statements monthly. If you have online banking, that'll be great to look at it more often because nowadays people can submit things to your bank account and debit your account without your knowledge. So you want to make sure that everything is authorized on your bank account. Update your signature cards. So we're coming to the end of the year. So you want to go to the bank and whoever's an authorized signer, get the new signature cards for the new officers to start effective July 1st. Okay, so accounting should be in a timely fashion, of course, and submitting your tax forms is required. So your tax forms, okay, there are two things that you need to do, your IRS filing and your general excise tax filing. So IRS filing is due November 15th. So if you can do it sooner, that's good. So this is for your club, and your year end should be June 30. So your IRS filing is due by November 15th. If you have gross receipts of 50,000 or less, you can do this thing called a 990N, which is a postcard, which is like an email to IRS saying, we have less than 50,000, then that's your filing, your whole filing. You don't need to do a whole tax return. Okay, so you wanna see if you can qualify for this because it's really easy. But the thing is, you need to keep up with it because if you miss it, you're delinquent, you're not gonna be able to do your 990 and the postcard. You got to do a full tax return. Okay, so when you do the filing, you want to send a copy to the grants chair at grants@Rotary D5000 because for the grant qualification, we need to see that tax filing. And new coming up is your GET. Starting next year, you need to file your general excise tax to the state tax department. Even though you have no income that is subject to GET, you need to file that annual report. Okay, so the evidence of the GET will be required for grant qualifications. So the end of this year, so you got some time to get your number if you don't have a GE number to get that done and the forms. But starting with the June 2022 report, which is to qualify for next year's grants, yeah, get that ready because it is due 4 months after the close of the year. Okay, so just remember, you don't have revenue subject to GET, you still need to file. So the GET requirements, this is what I got from the state tax department, that you do need to file it. You can try and get an exemption, but usually if you're fundraising, like for silent auction things, you're not exempt. You need to pay the GE tax on that. So some things are not, what you collect is not subject to GET. So like if you collect meals fees and it goes to the restaurant, it's a pass through. So you don't need to collect GET. The GET will be paid by the restaurant. Okay, so meeting expenses, they're not subject to the GET. So check with your tax accountant, your advisor, and ask them what they can advise you on what is subject to GE. And Alan Kobayashi will be joining us at 11 o'clock, and he'll talk more about what revenues are reportable. Okay, so budget templates. So budget templates, it can be on QuickBooks, it could be on Excel. You can use the one on the Rotary International website, but normally this is what it would look like. You've got income, the different income expenses, then you've got your expense, your income categories, and then you have the different expenses. So what I would suggest is getting the actual numbers for the past 5 years and put them side by side so that you can see where you're spending your money and what the differences are from year to year. And then to do your budget for this coming year, it's easier to see if you have that to start off with. Okay, so that would be a good exercise to do to see where you are. And it's much easier to do the budget. And the budget, you want the new board to approve that by July 1st. Okay, so budget items coming up for the next, for 2022-23, the Rotary International Web's dues goes up every year. And so this coming year, it's $88.03. The July invoice will be larger than the January invoice, but together it's $88. District dues will be the same at the $60. And this PowerPoint is going to be up on the website. So you can refer to this later on if you want to. So district dues are $30 a head for each member in July and January. HRYF club dues are $200 for the year. So you need to pay that in July. You'll get the invoice from HRYF. Pets is in Los Angeles. It's going to be early February. So budget about $1,400 for pets for airfare registration. And because we need to get there Friday morning, we need to stay over on Thursday night. But Sunday, we don't need to stay over because we have flights coming back on Sunday afternoon for most of us, for almost all of us. Okay. The hospitality room, we collect about $100 to pay for the refreshments and for the hospitality room expenses. Then we might have workshops that there may be a small fee for the refreshments, but right now the workshops are going to be on Zoom. RILA, every island might have a different amount for RILA. I think on Maui, Hugh, is it $1,000 a club for RILA? So sometimes you budget that from your grant funds. But for Oahu, I think it's $250 if it's in person. And then some clubs will pay for a district conference for their president-elect. That's up to you. It's not mandatory. So for our club, for instance, we pay up to $500 for the PE and the president. So up to you on what the board approves. Okay. Pre-pets is going to be virtual again, and training assemblies will be virtual. So your invoice, $88 for next year. That includes on the July invoice, the council on legislation fee, the insurance fee, the magazine fee. So magazines are $12 a year. So it's going to be due $47.03 a head in July and $41 in January. So that's where Rotary International dues. So you got two dues, yeah? One to Rotary International and one for a district. Honorary members, there's a $12 for the year for the magazine, which is optional. If they don't want it, you don't need to, but you need to let Rotary know not to charge you that $12. Rotary will also prorate. So say someone joins in February when you get the July bill, they're going to prorate that member. Okay, so that's why it's really good to collect your dues when they join. So district dues, so Rotary International, you can pay by credit card or mail it to Illinois. District dues goes to the PO box in Honolulu. Okay, so we really suggest that you send your club invoice out in June 1st and December 1st. And that's why it's really important to get this out so you know who is going to renew their membership or not. Because once Rotary International has that roster July 1st and January 1st, they're going to charge you for that amount. And you usually cannot dispute that or appeal that amount. So you want to clean up your roster and don't wait till December 31st or June 30. You should try and do it like June 15th to clean up the rosters. Okay. We suggest that if you send out, you do send out an invoice, you can have an optional line for Rotary International Giving for the annual fund, HRYF, if you want to get donations for HRYF. $40 is good. But HRYF has this new thing where you need $20 per capita by June 30, 2022, in order to get the $5,000 for next year. Okay, so you might want to see where you are to make sure you got that $20 per capita. If you're under $20 per capita on June 30, your HRYF amount that you can give is going to be $2,500. Okay, so something to work on soon. Okay, Rotary International dues, it's really by that count, July 1st and January 1st, it cannot be adjusted. So the invoices are emailed unless you ask for paper, but normally it's emailed to the president, secretary, and treasurer. So you got to make sure that your email addresses are correct. Okay, and what does that money go for? It goes for their finances, their legal, their audit, the internal. There's $1 per member for council on legislation, 99 cents for the insurance, $3.54 for general liability insurance. So you do get insurance coverage with this payment. Okay, the district website has in the president and officer resource page the template for the dues invoice if you don't get it or if you want to pay it earlier. So on the district website, you can find rosters, you can find the district invoice, chairs, a lot of really great information on the district website. And there's also a yellow pages, by the way. If you have a business, you want to put it in the yellow pages, it's a free listing. Okay, but this is what the invoice looks like. So it's a template. You need to put in the yellow place how many members you have, and it will calculate for you on the dues. Then you send the dues to, it's payable to Rotary International District 5000 or Rotary D5000, and it goes to the PO box in Honolulu. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Brian? No. Okay. I want to cover district grants because there's some changes on district grants. And as a treasurer, you may, or some people have other people that keep track of the grant money, but normally it's the treasurer. Okay. So just know that your final report for grants is due May 31st. It's actually 2 months after you finish, or at the latest, May 31st. So if anyone is not spent the grant money that you got for district grants, please get your projects done so that you can do the report on May 31st. And the reason why we need to do this is because the new grant applications are due June 15th. Okay, so the reason why we're sticking to the dates that are in our policy manual is because we need to get the money to the clubs earlier than we have been. And so we hear it all the time, you know, I need my money because I'm doing dictionaries or whatever project, I can't wait till October, I need my money sooner. So we're going to really try and work this out with the final grant report on May 31st, your grant application. So this is for the PE to work on because it's going to be the grant money that you get for next year projects. Okay, so it's due June 15th. So the PEs were sent the grant application form and the grant allocation. So that is on the district website in the, if you go to foundation and district grants, the application form and the allocation on how much money you're getting is in that, that report. So what you want to do is only make the grant application for the amount of your cash and matching. Okay, if your grant is $15,000 and you only get $2,000 for your grant money, just make it for that amount of your grant allocation, because we need to see your club cash. So this is something new this coming year. Your club cash needs to be in your grant account before you can get the grant money. So if you make a bigger project, you're going to need to put that extra money into the grant account. And we need to see that grant statement before you get the money. So it would be good if you, since you know how much you need to put in for club cash, put that in and by July 31st, so that in August, you'll have a statement showing that you have your club cash portion in the grant account. So grant account is separate right from operating. Okay, and it needs to say grant account or district grant account or TR grant account, but it has to have that grant account name on that separate account. Okay, so your bank statement needs to show your total club cash in there, yeah, before you can get your grant cash. Okay, questions on that? So this is new. So if somebody tells you your grant application isn't due to August 1st, they haven't been updated. It is June 15th for PEs. Okay, so the PE is going to be signing that grant application because this is grant money for next year. Okay, so for the grant financial requirements, just make sure that you're dispersing according to your project. All of the money needs to be dispersed from the grant account. Okay, so 2 signatures for disbursement. So new this year is this coming year is you need to have a voucher to have those 2 signatures authorizing the disbursement. Okay, you need the proof of delivery, so your proof of payment, so your receipts go with the final grant report. So this year's president and this year's foundation and treasurer are responsible for that final grant report, May 31st. But if they don't submit it, we don't get it correctly, then it affects next year's grant. So you want to make sure that it gets done. Okay. And then you keep your expenditures, your receipts, your grant reports, all of that needs to be in a folder that is kept for 5 years. Okay, so if you are audited, so about 20% of the clubs will be audited for their grant funds. If you're audited, the auditor will send you, and this is a Rotarian asking for this, so you will get a notice to please submit all of these documents, and they're going to check. They want to see your documents, that is signed properly, your application, your bank statements, your canceled checks, your signature cards. So if you're changing signatures for the bank, keep a copy in your folder. Your check registers, they want to see the reconciliation of that account, list of assets if there are any. Okay, and if there's any misuse of funds, that needs to be reported ASAP. Okay, so grant account is separate from your operating account. Okay, so new this coming year is this voucher, and this voucher is on the district website in the grant folder. Okay, and this is what you need for every disbursement for the grant. You need to have this voucher filled out, and so it's signed by 2 people. Yeah, it's supposed to be signed by 2 people to authorize this payment. Okay, so every disbursement should have this voucher. So if you're selected to be audited, they're going to be looking for this voucher. Okay, so let's go to the Rotary website. Oh, before I go there, any questions on grants?
No, but Naomi, can we back up to the GE for a second? I didn't think that the state wanted to see annual reports, until January. I didn't think they went by our calendar year. I thought they still, I mean, our physical year, I thought they still went by calendar year. So I've been doing my finals at the, in December.
Yeah, there are some clubs that do it on a calendar rather than a fiscal year, and it should be on the fiscal year. But let's ask Alan when he comes on at 11 o'clock. He's a CPA. But when you look at the instructions on the state tax website, it says it should be with the fiscal year. But I think if you're doing on a calendar year, that's what they're going to be tracking. So ask your tax advisor, or let's ask Alan when he comes on at 11. Okay, so let's see. For grants, went through grants on the Rotary website, the rotary.org website. So we got two websites, yeah, the district and one for the Rotary International. So when you sign on, it's your email address is a username. So it might not be the same as the club runner. Okay, and what you want to do is if you don't have one, create an account and it'll send you an email. So make sure your email address is correct and it'll show you how to set your password. If you try too many times, you're going to be knocked out. You just create it again. If you haven't used it in a long time, you need to create it again. Okay, so go to club administration. So go to manage, and then this drop-down menu will come up and you're going to club administration. And that is where you're going to find your invoices. So this is a club administration. You go to club finances and your invoice is here. You can download your invoice. If you don't know how they came up with that number or those number of people, you can go to the detail and you can see what they're charging you for. So just remember though, once it's generated, you can't fix it. So you want to fix your rosters ahead of time. Some of you might do Rotary Foundation contributions. So those forms are on the Rotary International website. You go to the foundation tab and then you go to ways to give. And then all of the forms are on the bottom. You can do it you can do it for the whole club if you want to do a multiple form, and you can do it in honor of someone. So you can give these gifts. And you know what? When you go to that website, you can do if you're donating for the club, it brings down the whole. So say you collected a whole bunch of checks, okay? And you're going to now pay by credit card, or you got money in your club account. You can go to club donations and it pulls up a whole list of your members, and you just click on how much each one is giving, and then they'll get credit for it. So easy to give if you're doing multiple. Okay, Rotary International also has Rotary Club Central goals. You can sign up for newsletters. You can find projects. You can do get manuals, and they have this discount thing. So Zoom, if you have a club Zoom, you get it through Global Rewards or the discounts for members. And you get I think it's a 10% discount. So instead of 150 a year, it's 120. There's a lot of discounts there. So let me take down my screen because I want to take questions right now. So any questions?
I'll go for a clarification. So the
Okay.
June 15th grants, that's not like the MOU and stuff. That's actually going to be the form that says what we want to spend our money on and the amount.
Right. So the MOU, all of the grant documents were due January 31st. So everybody sent those in already. So this coming January 31st, your next year's PE is going to be signing those. So the one that is due on June 15th is your grant application. And so this is where you're asking for the money for your projects for this upcoming year. So June 13th is the date. Okay, so let me show you on the district website. Okay, where you can find this grant information. So on the district website, oops, that's mine. On the district website, you're going to, from the home page, this is rotaryD5000.org. Sorry. Okay, so go to foundation and here grants and go to district grants. Okay, when you go to that district grants page, the new application is here. So when you get this new application, this is for money for next year, yeah. It's going to bring up the form and only put in what your club cash and matching and no match is. So here's where you put your club name, the project, you type it in here, and here is where you're putting in what your budget is for your project. So for your project, you're going to spend maybe $2,000, and down here is where you're going to put your club cash, your no match, and your matched amount. Okay, and then your PE is going to be signing this. So your PE is signing as the club president for next year because this is next year's grant. Okay, so this is the grant application. This is the allocation. So 2023, 22, 23 is your application. Okay, and here's where you can find how much you're getting. So let me make this larger. So Kona, so Janice, when you go to Kona over here, it says you're going to get no match and matched, right? So no match is 721. So you can spend that without matching with club cash. Matched is $1,081. So you need to put $1,081 into your grant account. And then we need a statement showing that amount in order to get this full amount. Okay, so the amount that you got to spend is your no match, your matched, which is 1,081, and your matched. So you've got, how much is that? Hey, Alan's here. That's almost $3,000 to spend for your grant, your district grant. And then this last column is global grants. So global grants is you match it with club cash. So when you're doing your budget, you want to make sure that you put in this money. And also, if you pledged money for this year's global grant and it hasn't gone yet, you need to make sure you got that amount for next year to make sure you can cover that pledge. Okay, so that's why the pledge, when you say you're going to put money toward global grant, we're asking for the PE and the PN to sign that because it's coming out of next year. It might come out of next year's grant. Oh, sorry.
Naomi,
Yes.
Naomi, one question. If we put, you're recommending that we fill up the grant, the application for the amount of money we're going to get. Okay. What if the project we want to do is more than that?
The problem with
And
doing, yeah, so if you
Yeah.
put the whole big project on the grant report, all of
Right.
that club cash, which is extra, you're going to have to put that into your grant account. So what I suggest is just separate the project from the grant and only put on the grant application the amount of the application, the allocation. So the only amount you need to put in the grant account is your club
Okay.
cash
Okay. So if it costs more, then we would just pay for it from the club.
on your own, right?
Yeah, on our own. Okay, I understand.
Yep.
Thank you.
So for Mililani, you just
Mhm.
need to put in that $166, right? I'm
No,
sorry,
660,
250. You only need to put 250 into the grant account because that's the club
Yes.
cash portion.
Right.
Okay, but your application is going to be that 666 number, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
So that's where you
understand.
find this information is on this page under foundation, grants, and grant information, grant application and allocation. Okay, all of the forms go to grants at rotaryD5000.org and make sure you get a confirmation that they got it. Okay, because if you're close to that deadline, you want to make sure that they got it. Okay, so any questions? We're good? I covered it?
Understand.
Okay, here's that guy, Alan. See, he
Yeah.
even put his last name over there. but-
Kobayashi.
Alan is a member of the Kaneohe Club, And he's the guy who can tell us about that GET filing. So Ali, there was a question about GET on whether the state is saying it's due calendar year, so as of December, or is it fiscal year June?
Usually it follows the calendar year. But if our club or your particular club, I think Rotary is on a June year.
Fiscal June, yeah.
So each of the clubs should have their own filing. So I'm thinking that most of the clubs are filing under the group exemption, under the Rotary umbrella. So probably June, you can do an annual. It's a G49, it's the annual. And I guess the big question for me in my mind is whether, yeah, we got to do the filing, but the big question is what's going to be subject to the general excise tax. And that's usually the tricky part. And just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean that you're not subject to the GE. You know, so if you go to the Hawaii State, the site, it says that you really don't need a GE if your club only collects dues, if you don't do any fundraising. And you actually aren't required to have a GE, but if you do any type of fundraising like our club, and I don't know if we paid GE on the Ducky Dash. I don't think I was a treasurer at that time, but if you do fundraising and you open up the fundraising to the public, it's imperative that you get a GE license. It's pretty easy to apply. It costs you like $20. It lasts you forever. So if you do any type of fundraising, it's good to have a GE license. Now, the tricky part is that for most grants, if a club receives a grant, most of the grants are exempt from the GE. However, if the grant is to replace income, then the state is going to take the position that that grant is subject to the general excise. I haven't seen anything like that, though. I haven't seen a grant like that, but conceivably there could be grants out there that are going to cover you for income. And so therefore it's subject to general excise. Now, what happened during this past year, during COVID, there's a lot of grants that came out, the PPP loans, et cetera, and some of our 501c4s actually got PPP loans. I don't think any of our clubs will have to worry about that because I don't think anybody applied, at least our club didn't. But that one is not subject, even though it was supposed to replace income. They came up with a specific tax information release that said those PPP loans are not subject to the general excise. But it is subject to income tax, but we're a nonprofit, so we don't have the income tax issue to worry about. But the GE tax is a separate area. If you've been ignoring it for the year, I would recommend that if you do fundraising, you don't ignore it. You get a GE license. If you don't get a GE license, the statute is unlimited. They can go back forever. I remember when I first was in practice, I think there was a school that did the fundraising by selling huli huli chicken. And so it wasn't one of my clients, but I heard that when the state heard that they were selling huli huli chicken, they actually went into do the audit, and they went all the way back to day one from when the school first started selling the huli huli. So they ended up with a big assessment. I don't know whether they paid it or not, or whether they put up like a compromise, offering compromise, but it can be a big problem if you do fundraising. For our club in Kaneohe, we don't do a lot, or we do very little, so it's not a big issue for us. But for other Rotary clubs, it could be an issue. So I'm not real sure. So it depends on your club. Okay.
So
I have a question. This is Chantal from the Rotary Club of Kahului. When you do fundraisers, let's say you do a dinner, so you pay GET tax on the cost of the ticket for the dinner?
Yeah.
That's what or is it only the portion above what value they got?
No, so that you can use for your income tax write-off, but the general excise tax is a gross receipts tax. So whatever you collect for the dinner is, and if it's a fundraising, is going to be subject to the general excise tax.
Okay, but for donations, let's say we got a donation from a corporation for scholarships, that would not be taxable with GET, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, donations are not subject. Okay,
Okay, so can we go back to the calendar thing? So
Mhm.
the district is now gonna be asking for the final report for our grants sooner than, I have been doing it on the calendar year like they normally, I've always had my own GE. So at this point, district's wanting it sooner. So if I change and I do my annual in July, because it's the end of June, that's it. Is the state gonna balk now?
you know, you actually have a change in filing period. So there's a form that you can submit to change your filing requirements. And you can change it to a fiscal year if that's what you'd like to do on a going forward basis. But you can't switch back and forth. Once you decide, hey, I'm going to change from calendar to June 30, then you probably should make that change one time and then keep it going forward.
One more question, sorry. Donations that are made to our club, are those tax deductible for the individual that makes the donation?
Generally, no, because we're not a 501c3. However, what we've been doing is we've been taking the deduction, or what I would do is I take the deduction like as a business type of promotional type expense. But we can't take it as a charitable.
Right, but
No,
if
I
you don't
think-
have a
I think-
business, if you're an individual, then it's not deductible.
Correct.
Yeah, because you're getting some value to it. Jim Hoban,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what is your
yeah,
value?
I have
sorry, it's the
somebody else
membership.
talk.
No, I didn't mean the dues. I'm so sorry to have interrupted. I didn't mean the dues. If I'm an individual who makes a donation to the club, I'm not a member. I'm just an outside individual. I'm not getting any value. I'm just making a donation to the club, but that's still not deductible for me.
Right,
Yeah,
it's not.
Okay.
Do you have a business, Chantal?
No,
Okay, yeah, probably it's not going to be deductible.
okay.
But thank you for your donation.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm the treasurer. I'm just saying, I'm just looking out for people making donations.
Mm. Okay, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, in that regards, like when we do a fundraiser and we have a corporate sponsor, we always have the corporate sponsor write the check to the Rotary District 5000 Foundation, which is a 501(c)(3).
Then they get a
Do
deduction.
we need to count that in the GET?
No,
Do we need to?
no,
No, okay.
no, because Jim,
Yeah,
that's
and
going to
then
be,
that's the recommend. Go ahead.
that's going to be considered a donation, Jim. And it's to the foundation. So that is not subject to GE. Now, if you have
Yeah,
if you have specific issues or questions, if you go to the website, this was actually, and I'm pretty sure this is current, but this gives you an idea. It's called a tax information release. I don't know if you guys can see this. But there's a tax information release. It's 2011-04. And in this release, it gives you the type of income, GT, if is a GT license required. So it's a really fun type, well, it's fun for me. I don't know if it'll be fun for you, but it's a really fun TIR just to read, to see whether, you know, the GE exemption or the GE license is required. So, and you can get this from the website. I got it last night. I just typed in, you can type in tax information release, and then it'll throw up all these releases, and it's available. And the one that you want to get is a 2011-04. And that one will give you a whole bunch of stuff related to the general excise reporting for nonprofit organizations. So it's not too many pages, like 5 pages long, but it can be really helpful for if you have questions after I get off of this Zoom meeting.
Hey, this is
yeah,
Robert.
the first,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, for the person earlier was talking about making a donation, personal donation, and making it tax deductible. If they just write the check in the club's name to the D5000 Foundation, they're putting it into the 501(c)(3), that is tax deductible. And then
Foundation.
the club will get the money back out of the District 5000 Foundation. Thank you.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that.
But can I add to Jim's, if they can send the money to the District 5000 Foundation only if the club is a member of that foundation. Of the 53 clubs in the district, only 43 clubs are members of the District 5000 Foundation. So before you just start sending checks to the District 5000 Foundation, you need to find out whether you're a member club of the foundation.
Okay.
And Marianne, that donation, if they're getting something of value for it, like meals, it should only be for the donation part, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. If they're paying like for 5 tickets for a fundraiser and they make the check out to the foundation, their tax credit is only going to be for, it'll exclude the value of the dinner. So if $100 ticket, say the dinner costs $45, so their tax credit will only be $65, not the 100.
55.
And just a reminder for people who fundraise, if you say that that money is going for scholarships, or you say that money is going for a certain thing, that money is restricted to that purpose. So you cannot use it for operations or any other thing. So it really is really important to say what that money is for when you're fundraising. Okay, so Alan, you know, another question was, what is reportable income for your tax return?
Usually if it's under 25,000, you know, if your total receipts are under 25,000, you do a postcard type reporting, so you really don't have to break down anything. Once you go over 25,000, then you may have a reporting requirement. It's either a 990, you know, easy, or a regular 990. So in answer to your question, Naomi, I would report all the money that the club receives, and you just have to classify it. But if it's over 25,000, you probably should be reporting everything.
Well, oh, it's 50,000 now, but so if, so like Honolulu Club might collect for all of their meals,
Mhm.
and the meal, that portion is going to the restaurant.
Okay, so
So
it's like a reimbursement then. Yeah. So you can have the money going in and the money going out, but there must be a profit percentage, right? So if the meal is $15, don't they collect like 20?
Or so the amount of the profit would be on the P&L, the profit and loss income statement, but the rest of it is just a pass through.
Yeah, the rest of it would be a pass through.
Okay,
So if you have your P&L statement, you'd show the total gross receipts and then deduction for the amount paid to the restaurant.
okay. Any other
You
questions?
might be correct in the 50 grand though, yeah, and thinking about the old rules.
We're just talking about the N9, the 990N, that you don't want to lose that because it's so easy to file that.
Yeah, it takes about 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yep.
other questions?
I had a question
Rob?
regarding the GET filing. As long as you're filing annually and you can prove you're filing annually, whether you do it at calendar or fiscal, I mean, that should be good enough for the D5000, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be in June, or are they requiring it that it be in June?
That one, I don't know, Naomi, is there a requirement from D5000? Do they just say annual?
We say annual, and we prefer it to be the way that the state requires it. And so we would prefer that it be for June 30 filing.
Okay.
But, you know, so far we've been accepting the December 31st.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any more questions for Alan? Nope. Okay,
Thank you,
Um,
everybody, for being in Rotary.
thanks, Alan.
Hey, Naomi. Bye.
Okay, so Marianne has a reminder on the grant money. So it is true that you need to make sure that you get your grant money first before you start spending it. And so the actual rule is you need to get approval. And so the rule of thumb is when you get your check, that's when you can start spending. So you don't want to spend your money earlier because you won't get, you can't use grant funds. If you spend that money earlier, then you get your cash. So that's why it's important to put that club cash in that bank account and get that statement showing that you have your club cash to that grants at Rotary D5, grants at Rotary D5000, so you can get your check. So what we've been doing the past couple of years is we will deposit it, that check to that grant account. So that's why you give us the statement with the account number and we'll take it to that bank. So as long as that bank is on Oahu, we can do it. So Neighbor Island, if you got a credit union that we don't have a branch, then we're gonna have to mail a check to you. Okay. Okay. No other questions? We're good? Okay, so the next session that's coming up is on public image. And Joanne is going to be the host for that. So stay on this Zoom for public image that starts at 11:15. Okay, and then if you want the leadership opportunities, you got to go to the other Zoom. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Say that again, Naomi, please.
So stay on this Zoom, stay on. If you want the public image, if you want the leadership opportunities, Rotary opportunities, go to the other Zoom, the one that ends with 899.
Okay, I'll stay on this one.
Okay,
Mahalo.
thank you.
Yep, thank you all. Mahalo.
Thank you.